Today on Dylan Talks Tone, we're going to talk about stretching strings when you replace your strings. Do they actually stretch, or are they just like settling into the guitar? Is it something that you need to do? And we're going to talk about the proper way to do it. So let's go ahead and go to the table and whip these strings off this guitar. I'm going to show you an interesting test. Cruise tools out here, and I'm using this particular guitar for a particular reason. It has locking tuners on it. Now, a lot of people will say that when you put strings on a guitar, you don't need to stretch them because they don't actually stretch. All they're actually doing is just seating into the tuning machines. However, if you use locking tuners correctly, you do not actually wrap the strings around the tuners a bunch of times, so there's nothing to actually settle. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's pull this E string off of here, this low E. Get it out of the way. I've got a brand new one in the package. It's never been out of the package before. Let's go ahead and put this thing on the guitar. Now, to use locking tuners correctly, all you do is you just pull it through, make sure that it's all the way through, pull it tight. Now I'm going to do this especially, like I'm going to exaggerate this for this test. So I'm going to pull it tight and I'm going to lock it down. And I'm actually, on this particular type of tuner, going to use a screwdriver and just give it a little tug. Okay. Now, I'm not even, literally not even going to turn this. I'm not gonna, for this purpose of this test, I'm not even gonna actually turn it. So we literally just have the string going straight through the tuner, coming out the other side, and it's locked. I just pulled it physically tight, okay? So, what we're gonna do before we stretch these strings is I've got a ruler here. And we're going to measure, let's do it this way so it sits on there for me for a second. We're going to measure, I'm just going to pick a distance that's generally the entire length of the string. Not the entire length, but pretty close to it. And I'm just going to pick 2 points on here, which happens to be 45 centimeters. I'm going to mark it with tape. So those are marked exactly on the marks. I did not use, let me make this smaller. I did not use a marker for this because I didn't want to rub it off. I wanted it to be exact. And make sure this is at 20 so that this one is at 0 exactly. And then there's that one. All right, so now what we're going to do, now that these are on here, is we're actually going to, this is the way I stretch strings. I take my thumb and my forefinger and I actually push up and pull down the string this way. And I work it all the way along the edge, the length of the string. I put my thumb on right behind the nut because if you get up here and you're pulling on this and you don't, you could break the nut. So you don't want to do that. If you just pull up in the middle, here's what happens. The strings will stretch at the ends, but not as evenly in the middle. So to pull it, to stretch it evenly across the whole string. So here we go. My middle piece of tape came off. Okay, now as you'll see, the string is actually slack. It got longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull this tight and we're going to measure between those 2 pieces of tape and see what the distance is now. About 47 millimeters. So 2.5 or so. Just between the 2 pieces of tape. It actually lengthened quite a bit though. I mean, look how much more slack that is. That's a fair amount more slack. And the reason I did it this way is because I wanted to show you that it actually stretched between those 2 points on the string, not settling in anywhere up here. There's no settling in to do because you have a locking tuner here. Now, steel has memory, so after letting it sit a minute, see if it went back. Nope, 47 millimeters. The string stretched enough to make a huge difference in the tuning of the guitar. So you want to stretch your string properly. Okay, so now that we've established that the strings actually stretch, I went ahead and changed the other strings on the guitar, but I haven't tuned anything, and I have not, we stretched this low E obviously as part of the test. I have not stretched the other strings though, because I want to show you something very interesting. We're just gonna throw the tuner, the clip-on tuner on the peg head. There's no point in getting really fancy about this, I'll just tell you what's going on. Let's go ahead and tune this up to E. Now we tuned this to what I didn't tune it, I just stretched it. The way I usually do this is I tune the guitar up to pitch. Okay, so I basically get it close to pitch. And then I do that thing that I was talking about before where I stretch the strings. I put my thumb, or my finger on the first fret so I don't break the nut, and I take my thumb and my forefinger and I alternate it and I go down the string. Like this, right? And do the same thing. Now, we already stretched the low E, but I want to show you something here. We're gonna, let's just do this on one string just to isolate. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we're at A right now. Let's go ahead and stretch this string like we talked about. Typically I do it twice. Okay, evenly from one end of the string all the way to the other. That was an A. Now we're at A flat, so we've come down a half step. Same thing, hold it down here. Came down a half a step. A little bit more actually than a half a step. Now, on the higher strings, be careful because you can cut your fingers. They have that goofy tool that does this. I'll put a link to it in the description below. If you want to buy one off of Amazon, go ahead and do it. I don't have one. Typically I'll use a rag actually. Because if I'm doing 3 or 4 guitars at a time, I have cut my thumb before doing it that way. So just be careful. Use a rag or a t-shirt or something. And there we are, we're in tune. Now here's the thing about doing it this way with this method. It will end up that you will actually be a lot more stable. You'll be able to go out to a gig and play right now and not be chasing tuning all night. There's a lot of people that'll get like afraid of putting new strings on before they have to go out and play because of that. So, 2 things, very interesting. 1, the string actually does stretch. We stretched it between 2 points, 2 millimeters, which means it stretches more than that over the entire length of the string. And we ruled out any machine down here or any settling into the bridge. We know that the string stretched between those 2 points, period. They stretch, so make sure that you do it. Second of all, make sure that you stretch your strings evenly along the whole length of the string. If you just pull it like this, it'll stretch at the ends, but not so well in the middle. And so you don't want that. You want it to actually be stretched evenly along the whole length of the string. There you go. That's how you do it. Tell you what, let's go and go into some of our comments from the last couple videos, and because there's some funny ones in there. It's been good in the comments. Also, before I let you go, probably next week we're going to give away that cable wrangler, the black one. So make sure that you go watch that cable wrangler video and put your comment in there. Make sure that you do that so that maybe we can give you one. Let's look at some comments. Okay, so before we get into comments, it's a few days later. It's Monday morning. I'm about to upload this video in a few minutes, and I want to give you a little update on this whole string stretching thing. A lot of people were saying on the internet between the time I made that video and now that I shot that video, that over time, because steel has memory, that it would shrink. I tested it this morning, and if that were the case, then the guitar would go sharp over time. It did not. It was exactly in tune. I literally tuned it the other day, played it for about 30 minutes or so, because I was playing after the video. I shot the video, and then I just let it sit all weekend. So now it's Monday, I go and strum it, it's perfectly in tune. If the strings were going to muscle memory, steel muscle memory, come back, the guitar would have gone sharp. Especially on that guitar, because I floated the tremolo on it. So, not true. The strings did stretch. So I just wanted to mention that, like kind of a long-term afterwards check. And this is also going to be kind of a little bit of a test to see if anybody actually watched this far or argue about it in the comments without watching, which is really funny because a lot of people do that. Speaking of comments, let's look at some comments. I don't remember which video this was on, but Habeas J says, how does scale length work? Providing a change in tension would change the note. Why are the extended range guitars typically 27 plus inches? They always feel tighter to play. Well, when you change the scale length, the string tension does change because you have to bring it to a string tension that gives you the note that you want. That being said, the longer the scale length, the longer the string, the more tension it takes to maintain a particular note. So if you're going to tune it to A at 24 3/4, or you're going to tune it to A at 27, the tension to pull that much string that tight is higher with a longer string. So longer scale guitars are going to have a higher tension to get it to that particular note. Let's see, Skillshare. Mike Belt says, Skillshare, how to wind a pickup, start to finish. Maybe not give the specific secrets of the one you sell, but one, when finished, will be a good bass humbucker to work with and change. Let me know in the comments if that is something that you want. I was thinking about doing a Skillshare course on at least a single coil pickup, and see what happens with it. So you let me know in the comments, and tell other people to come watch this video and comment here if that you know of people that don't know who we are or what we do, to come and comment on this video, and let's make this video the survey for that. Stanko, I don't know how to say your name because it's got a lot of consonants in it, says, I didn't study for today. Can I answer in the next class? It was a video about Bigsby stuff. It was a pretty complicated one. I got to give you that. Was pretty fun. Dirty Tractor Doctor on our last video talking about doing our little news thing. I really want to do that like once a week. Let me know what you think. He says, I like this video type. It's nice to talk about quote unquote stuff in general, and no, I wouldn't pay for $450 for this lineup. Maybe in years past I would, when the Chili Peppers burned the place down. There was a lot of people that said they would never pay $450 for the Woodstock lineup, or that it was too expensive. But I'll just let you know, you probably haven't gone to a festival in a while. A 3-day festival is typically between $350 and $450 for tickets for a 3-day festival. The price itself is actually not out of line. And in fact, I know you don't think that it's Woodstock worthy, but those artists that were at that thing would have sold that place out totally. And I know that just means that you're old. We're old. It does. But I'm just telling you, just because we wouldn't go to it, or you wouldn't go to it, or whatever, the place would have been fine. It would have totally been fine. All right. So I think that's it. Actually, there's only 4. If you have any questions or you want to leave a comment, put it in the comments below. Maybe we'll make a shout out for you in the next video. Do me a favor and like, subscribe, do all the things, hit the bell, and yeah, man. And go buy a coffee cup. Thanks for hanging out. I got some cool stuff coming. We built a new editing computer. We're going to talk about that. We're rearranging the studio a little bit more because I got to make room for everything. Pretty cool, man. Got a lot of stuff coming. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon.